Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivana Dari Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivana Dari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivana Dari Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivana Dari Sodanandana Rajajanna Ranjana Jasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamunantira Vanachari Jamunantira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivana Dari Yasodanandana Pratyajana Ranjana Jasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamunatira Vanachari Jamunatira Vanachari Jamunatira Vanachari Jayam Vishnupad Varnamahamsa Prabhujakacharya Asatara Satashi Shima His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Ananda Gaura Vaishnavani Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Prem Sikha Host Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Giradhar Srivastri Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Shamakun Radhakun Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Shiva Navanam ki jai, Shimaya Panavdam ki jai, Gangamaya ki jai, Jamunamaya ki jai, Tulsi Devi ki jai, Bhakti Devi ki jai, Sombeda Bhaktivinoda ki jai, Transcendental Book Distribution ki jai, Harinam Sankirtan ki jai, Go Premanandi. How glorious some devotees, how glorious some devotees, how glorious some devotees, how glorious, Shishi Guru and Shri Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So this morning we're reading from the Srimadbhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 26, text number 14. Antapura Striyoprichjan Vimana Iva Vedishat Apiva Kushalang Ramaha Sheshavarinam Yatapura Antapura Striyoprichjan Vimana Iva Vedishat Apiva Kushalang Rama Sheshvarinam Yatapura Antapura Striyoprichad Vimana Iva Vedishat Apiva Kushalang Rama Sheshvarinam Yatapura Antapura Striya Prichat Vimana Iva Vedishat Apiva Kushalam Rama Shesrinam Yatapara. Antapura Striya Prujad Vimana Iva Vedhisat Apiva Kusalang Rama Antapura Striya Prujad Antapura, household. Striya, women. Aprichat, he asked. Vimana, being very much anxious. Iva, like. Vedhisat, O King Paritinivarhi. Api, whether. Va, your. Kushalam, good fortune. Rama, O you beautiful women. Sa Isvarinam, with your mistress. Nyata, as. Pura, before. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada ki. At that time King Puranjana was a little anxious, and he inquired from the household women, my dear beautiful women, are you and your mistress all very happy like before or not? Purport. In this verse the word Vedisat indicates King Purchinabarhi. When a man becomes refreshed by association with devotees and awakens to Krishna consciousness, he consults the activities of his mind, namely thinking, feeling, and willing, and decides whether he should return to his material activities or stay steady in spiritual consciousness. The word kushalam refers to that which is auspicious. One can make his home perfectly auspicious when he engages in the devotional service to Lord Vishnu. One is engaged in activities other than Vishnu Bhakti, or in other words, when one is engaged in material activities, he is always filled with anxieties. A sane man should consult his mind, its thinking, feeling, and willing processes, and decide how these processes should be utilized. If one always thinks of Krishna, feels how to serve him, and wills to execute the order of Krishna, it should be known that he has taken good instruction from his intelligence, which is called the mother. Although the king was refreshed, he nonetheless inquired about his wife. Thus he was consulting, thinking, and willing how he could return to a steady good consciousness. The mind may suggest that by Vijaya Bhoga, or sense enjoyment, one can become happy, but when one becomes advanced in Krishna consciousness, he does not derive happiness from material activities. This is explained in the Bhagavad Gita 259. Visaya vanivartante naraha rasyadehinam rasavarjam rasopyasya param dustra navartite. The embodied soul may be restricted from sense enjoyment, though the taste for sense objects remains. But ceasing such engagements, by experiencing a higher taste, he is fixed in consciousness. One cannot be unattached to the sense objects unless he finds better engagement in devotional service. Param dvasva nivartate. One can cease from material activities only when one actually engages in devotional service. Om Jnana Timanandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshum Militam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Mukham Krotavachalang Pangunlung Hayate Gurim Yatkripa Taraham Bande Shigurum Dinataranam Vanchikalpa Tuyabhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Bhaktavan Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Now King Puranjana, he's starting to feel the anxieties of material life. He's an anxiety, and this is the nature of this material world. Is one may experience a little apparent pleasure, but eventually one becomes anxious, anxiety, and this word of this, the name of this word is Kunta. Material world is a place of Kunta. It's a place of so much anxiety. And in my lifetime, I don't think I've seen people in general in so much anxiety as now with this COVID-19. All over the world, worldwide, it's like so much anxiety. People losing their jobs, their businesses. It's unbelievable. So that's the nature of this world. When one comes to material life, then one is subjected to so much suffering. Sufferings coming from nature, so much suffering coming from nature. Like it was last week, we had heat here, so much heat. It's like over 90, very hot. Now it's cooled off. It's going to get hot again? Oh, okay. Then it'll get cold. Of course, not too cold. Southern California's pretty good with weather. But in other places, whew. I was in Russia, one devotee, he said that in Siberia, it gets so cold that you have a cup of water and you pour it outside, it vaporizes. The water doesn't hit the ground. It vaporizes. It's so cold, you can't imagine. And places that are so hot, Vrindavan, it's so hot. And there's miseries coming from our own mind and body. This is where the main misery is, our own mind and body. Mental, actually it's a major problem throughout the world, mental diseases. Yeah. So, and the miseries coming from other living entities. We're fortunate here also, we don't have mosquitoes. Remember the mosquitoes in Miami? In Florida, there's so many mosquitoes that carry you away. Yeah, so other living entities. So yeah, it's the material world. But when one takes to Krishna consciousness, actually it's described that pure devotional service frees one from all distresses. There's 6 symptoms of pure devotional service. And that's one of them. One becomes free of distress. Although one may be experiencing apparent pain, still one is able to transcend. His consciousness transcends. It's like there's been so many examples of devotees that had cancer. It's like Bhakti Tirtha Swami. He was suffering so much. And Radhanath Swami, he stayed with him for 2 months. Yeah. And eventually he told Radhanath Swami, it can't get better than this. Because he was so, although his body was just wrecked with pain, he was thinking of Krishna. He was just absorbed in Krishna. You know, so many examples of that. So one can transcend distress by taking to Krishna consciousness. So yeah, there's 6 of those. One is put into transcendental pleasure by taking to devotional service. Now the nature of transcendental pleasure is it's always increasing. It's not temporary. Nature of material pleasure, it's temporary and it's decreasing. This is the nature of material pleasure. So spiritual pleasure is always increasing. Krishna is unlimited. So the more we surrender to Krishna, and Krishna is actually, he's the reservoir of pleasure. Yeah. This is God. He's the reservoir of pleasure. So the closer we get to Krishna, we also experience that pleasure. Yeah. So it's rarely achieved. Manushyanam sahasresu kaschadhyarati siddhi. That out of many thousands of men, one may endeavor for perfection. And of those who have achieved perfection, hardly one knows me in truth. So it's very rare for someone to even take to Krishna consciousness. What to speak of to become a pure devotee. So why is it so rare? Why is it so rare for someone to engage in Dvita? Yes. He's purchased, he's captured, he's controlled by his devotees. Just like the pure devotee, he's controlled by Krishna. So Krishna is also controlled by his pure devotee. And therefore Lord Chaitanya says that there's two reasons why Krishna doesn't easily give devotional service. One is we actually have to be attached to Krishna. We have to be attached to Krishna. Now, because we're in this material consciousness, we're attached to so many other things. Our family, our body, our mind, and so many things. So we have to transfer that attachment to Krishna. And the other reason is Krishna simply doesn't give it easily. Because if you get something easily, then you give it up easily. Yeah? But if you give it all you've got to attain this pure devotional service, I mean, you just give it everything, then Krishna says, all right, you did it. you went the extra 100 miles. And then Krishna, he gives the mercy. And it's all auspicious. It's all auspicious. You know, I looked this word up, auspicious. What does it mean? It means favorable. Auspicious means very favorable. So pure devotional service is very favorable for our existence. Because we're part of Krishna. So it's natural that we're connected to Krishna, that we're engaged in devotional service. So it's very auspicious. I remember Vijaya Dasa telling me that one instance where he was on book distribution in the airport in San Francisco. He was distributing a book to a lady, and she said, I don't read, I don't have any time, and I don't like to read anyway. And Vijaya Dasa said, that's all right. You just have it in your home, and it'll create auspiciousness in your life. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Working? Okay. Maybe we could turn up the volume? Yeah. So, for those on the internet that didn't hear the beginning of this little pastime, Vijaya Dasa was on book distribution, and he approached one lady, and she was not interested because he doesn't read and no time, and he said, that's all right. You just have it in your home, it'll create auspiciousness in your life. And she said, all right. So she took it. He's distributing books, he continues distributing books. She comes by 10 minutes later, and she, as he's talking to somebody else, she's waving the book. She said, it's already working. I just got upgraded to first class. And he pointed at her, he said, you see? So much more auspiciousness is there. So yeah, it just creates auspiciousness in our life to take to Krishna consciousness, to become pure devotee, something to look forward to becoming a pure devotee. Now we're apprentices. We're trying, of course I shouldn't say that for everybody, I should say that for myself. We're trying to come to the level of pure devotional service. When I first read the Bhagavad Gita, it was so attractive. I liked it so much, but I didn't know that I was entering into such a difficult path. It's not an easy path, as Krishnadas Kaviraj says, Dogame patimen dasye skalat pada gato mihir muhu. Don't tell me this. Swakripa yasidhanena santaya vavalambanam. Something. Oh, close. He says, my path is difficult. I'm blind. My feet are slipping again and again. Therefore, may the devotees be merciful to me by granting to me the stick of their mercy as my support. This is Krishnadas Kaviraj. Yeah, this is the humility of a pure devotee. He says, I'm blind. My feet are slipping again and again. I need the mercy of the devotees as my support. So, this is what we need. Not an easy path. So we need help. One devotee, I forgot his name, and he was the temple president up in San Jose many years ago. When he was distributing books and doing Harinam, someone asked him, so what does this Hare Krishna mantra mean? And he said, it means, God, please help me. In essence, that's what it is. God, please help me. Krishna, please help me. I need help. It's not easy here. Yeah, so it's all auspicious. It's rarely achieved. It frees one from all distress. Material world, as we were just mentioned, it's a place of much distress. So much anxiety. And then it's beyond the conception of liberation. A devotee isn't interested in liberation. Yeah. That's just described that liberation is waiting at the doorstep of the pure devotee. Devotee is not in. Therefore Lord Chaitanya says, Nadanam, doesn't want well. Nadanam jajanam, dusungnu, kavitang vajagadishi kame, mama janmani janma isre, bhavatad bhakti haitiki. Devotee is not interested in money and followers and even liberation. Everything comes to the devotee that gives one's life to Krishna. So these are the 6 characteristics of pure devotional service, something to look forward to. And the only means of attracting Krishna, yes. So, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he said that we should not try to see God, but act in such a way that God wants to see you. Yeah. And that's devotional service. This is what attracts Krishna. Nothing else attracts Krishna. I mean, he's God. What does he need? He doesn't need anything. But if we give our heart to Krishna, yeah, then he's attracted. If we just give everything to Krishna, then he's attracted. Prabhupada said that this verse, Manmana bhava madbhakto majaji mam namaskar mama vaisya satyam pratijane priyosime. He said this is the essence of morality. Always think of me, become my devotee, worship me, and offer your homage unto me. Thus shall come to me without fail. I promise you this because you're my very dear friend. This is the essence of morality, the highest morality. So in this purport, Prabhupada mentions twice this. Consulting with our mind. The nature of the mind is it wants immediate gratification. Right? This is the nature of the mind. The intelligence is analytical. Right? It analyzes. Now in the purport, Prabhupada says that one has to consult with one's intelligence. And with one's good intelligence, one will think, feel, and then a will to engage in devotional service. But here it also says that to consult with the mind. Now the mind can be our friend, or it can be our enemy. Udarat atmana manam nat manam avasat atmahava yatmanobandha atmahava riparatmana. One must deliver oneself with the help of the mind and not degrade oneself. For one who has conquered the mind, it's the best friend. And for one who has failed to do so, it's the worst enemy. And for one who has conquered the mind, the super soul is already reached. For him, happiness and distress, heat and cold, honor and dishonor, it's all the same. So this is the symptom of someone who has conquered the mind. You know, he's equipoised. Yeah. So of course it's not an easy thing to achieve. But Prabhupada says in one purport that the best training of the mind, interesting, is to think of how to deliver the conditioned souls. The best training of the mind is always thinking how to help others. And the best help is to give people Krishna. Knowledge of Krishna, book distribution. And therefore Prabhupada said that if you want to please me, then distribute books. So this is very auspicious, a very auspicious activity, because this is what is most needed, especially in this difficult time around the world. People need this knowledge. Yeah. They're in anxiety, because they're thinking they're the body. There's some distress coming to their body. Lose their job or lose their business or so many difficulties. But by taking to Krishna consciousness, one realizes, I'm not the body. So there's no problem, no anxiety. But it's this bodily conception of life. It's so difficult to overcome. Just like some devotees, they were preaching to this one person. He had a huge body, like 400 pounds or something, just huge. 350 or 4, just huge. And they brought him over to see Prabhupada. And they introduced him to Prabhupada. And one of the devotees said, "Pretty big boy, eh, Prabhupada?" And Prabhupada immediately said, "He's no bigger than you. You're seeing the body, but he's just the size of the tip of a hair. 1/10,000 size of a tip of a hair. He's very small." So even a devotee, he's introducing him like, "And he's a pretty big boy." No, he's not big. Don't you know? He's a soul. He's the soul within. He's not this big body. So, of course, this understanding gradually comes as we continue. I was listening to a lecture recently, and a devotee said that we just like we have our home, just like many of us are living here in the temple, and this is our home. So we go out, we go someplace, and we come back to our home. But we also have our mental home. Our mind goes off, right? And then we bring it back. Yato nischalati. Krishna says, from wherever the mind wanders due to its flickering, unsteady nature, we must bring it back under the control of the self. So, when we bring our mind back, what is it coming back to? Our mental home. What is our mental home? Is it attachment to family? Is it lust? Is it greed? Is it reputation? So what is our mental home? We all have our mental homes. So the goal of this process is to make our mental home, not only the home where we live, nice atmosphere, just like it's mentioned in the purport there, that as one takes to Krishna consciousness, one's home becomes transformed. Like Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he says, while practicing Krishna consciousness, suddenly I saw my home transformed into Goloka Vrindavan. Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So we also want to transform our mind, our mental home, into Goloka Vrindavan, where we're always thinking of Krishna. So what this process does, this process of Krishna consciousness, it burns up our mental home, our material mental home. And then we have our spiritual home. And it's like if you have a fire, if you have fire and you put so you have some wood, so the fire is going to burn up this wood. So the fire of Krishna consciousness, it burns up this mental home, this material mental home. So all we have left is a Krishna conscious mental home. Wouldn't that be nice? We're always thinking of Krishna. This is a mental home. And we decorate that mental home with the pastimes of Krishna, the name, the form, the qualities, the pastimes of Krishna. This is a Krishna conscious mental home that we're trying to cultivate. Actually, Prabhupada said that this Krishna consciousness is it's a mental culture. It's a mental culture of Krishna consciousness. We're trying to culture this thoughts of Krishna, always thinking of Krishna. And if the mind is satisfied in Krishna consciousness, then we won't look elsewhere. There's an interesting statement by, in the srimadbhagavatam, asantushasya viprasya tejo vidya tapoyasaha, that if one is not satisfied in Krishna consciousness, then one's tejas, one's spiritual advancement gradually diminishes if we're not satisfied in serving Krishna. Tejo vidya, our knowledge, diminishes. Tejo vidya tapo, our austerity. And yasaha means our reputation. Everything, all this diminishes if we're not satisfied in serving Krishna. If we're not satisfied thinking of Krishna, having this Krishna conscious mental home. If we don't want to have a Krishna conscious mental home, then that's opportunity is here. We can have a materialistic mental home still. So this opportunity is there. So much opportunity to think of so many other things in this material world. But we should somehow try to be satisfied in the service of Krishna. One of my favorite verses in the srimadbhagavatam, Akinchinasya dantasya santasya samavesta maya santusi manasa sarva sukha maya dasha. That for one who is free of material desires, only desires things that are pleasing to Krishna. Akinchinasya dantasya santasya, whose mind is peaceful because the senses are controlled. If we allow our senses to get out of control, there's no peace. Yeah. Just like that amazing example that we have in the Bhagavad Gita of the 5 horses representing the 5 senses. Yeah. And the mind is the reins. The intelligence is the driver. The chariot is the body, and the soul is the passenger. And I show this to people all day long, and sometimes they say, well, the passenger, he doesn't look very happy, very distressed. So I said, well, yeah, if we allow our senses to get out of control, it can be very distressful. Oh yeah, good point. Yeah, that's the point. The senses are out of control. The horses are wild. It causes distress. So to control the senses, helps us to be peaceful. Akinchinasya dantasya santasya samachetasa, who is equal towards all living entities. Everybody is a spiritual soul. Vidya vaniya sampane brahmane gavihasini suni chayos pagicha pandita samadarshana. This is how a devotee sees. The elephant, the cow, the dog eater, the brahmana. Everybody is a spirit soul. Wouldn't it be nice? I tell people that when I show that picture, I tell them, so wouldn't it be nice if everybody saw like that? And everybody says, oh yes, that would be so nice. No war, no racism. It's a beautiful example. And then Akinchinasya dantasya santasya samachet maya santusa manasa, and who is satisfied in Krishna consciousness. Wherever such a person goes, you will only find happiness. So that's a part of it, being satisfied in Krishna consciousness. That means we have to make the endeavor. Don't let Maya, don't allow Maya in. Now the mind, like I said earlier, the mind wants immediate gratification. So the intelligence, Prabhupada says in the purport, one has to consult the intelligence. So the intelligence there has to be a little dialogue with the mind. This actually isn't so good for me. Maybe we shouldn't do this, because the mind wants that immediate. The intelligence analyzes, well, wait a second. Will this be good for me? It may not be good for us. All right. So unfortunately, the intelligence is higher than the mind. We have the gross matter, right? Then we have the senses. Superior to the senses is the mind. Higher than the mind is the intelligence. Higher than the soul, or higher than the intelligence is the soul. So we have to make our intelligence very strong to keep the mind down, because the mind is going to come up with so many things. So if we keep the intelligence strong by hearing and chanting regularly this philosophy, that'll keep the mind down. And whenever the nonsense comes up from the mind, we're able to keep it down, keep it at bay. So this is the goal, to always think of Krishna. No room for Maya. Okay? Any questions or comments? Hare Krishna, Ravi.
Hare
Welcome.
Krishna. So, Prabhuji, you were talking about training the mind, or so cleaning the mind. So, is it okay to, in the conditioned state, is it okay to engage? And you were mentioning that training the mind is to somehow engage in Krishna's service, right? So, is it okay to do some service which the mind also likes?
Yeah. We have natures. Like I like to distribute books. I'm an extroverted person. I like to talk to people and meet people. Now there's some devotees that aren't like that. Like there was one devotee in Miami in the early 70s. He was going out on book distribution. Everybody went out on book distribution when Prabhupada was here. I think it was in New York. Every Saturday, everybody would go out, right? Every Saturday, Maha Saturday. We did that in Miami also. We had Maha Saturday. Davida also. You'd also go out on book distribution, right? So, but there was one devotee. He just had the most difficult time, and he wrote Prabhupada, and he said, Prabhupada, so many other devotees are distributing. They're doing so many books, but I'm not doing anything, and I think I'm feeling some envy of them. And Prabhupada, he's so Krishna conscious. He wrote back and said, no, that's just another way of your appreciating their service. That was Dharma. Dharma. He's been the pujari there in Miami since 1974, maybe? Something like that. A long time. Yeah, like 45 years or something, 46 years, something like that. So it wasn't his nature to go out and meet people and get them to take a book, but he had another nature. He likes to worship the deities. So, and that's okay. It's not that you have to do a certain service that's against your nature. If you have a certain service that you like to do, then do that. And this way, your Krishna consciousness will increase. If he would have continued distributing books, he was suffering. It was difficult. It might have been, for him to continue would have been. It may have disturbed his Krishna consciousness because he was suffering so much. So do something that you like to do, and that will help you in your service to Krishna, in your Krishna consciousness. So that's okay.
I just have a little comment in relation to that. I heard my spiritual master. He in a talk. He was saying how sometimes devotees, they're wondering, what's my nature, and what's the best way I could serve, and I believe my spiritual master said that Prabhupada said that your nature can be understood by two things, and that is that one is that when you're engaged in a certain way, you like doing it.
Yeah.
And the other is that people say you're good at it. So, anyways, that's an indication that you like it, and then other people also, he's good or whatever. She's good. So.
Yeah, good. Yes, Javira Prabhu. You put it close to. No, it's not on. There you go.
The baton. Yeah. I have to cross the finish line. First of all, I looked up the verse, Kinchanasya Dantasya. It's definitely worth memorizing. But the verse right before it, this is 11th canto, 14th chapter, text 12.
This is Krishna speaking, right?
This is Uddhava Gita.
Yeah, Krishna speaking.
So the one before it is also really sweet.
Let's hear it.
Go together.
Let's hear it.
O learned Uddhava, those who fix their consciences on me, giving up all material desires, share with me a happiness that cannot possibly be experienced by those engaged in sense gratification. And that ties into the comment I wanted to make, because, as you said, the mind is always looking for immediate gratification. As soon as there's some disturbance in the gratification, then it gets restless, tries to go here or there, or something. And so the intelligence says, well, hold up. You're going to go here, and you're going to go there, and you're going to make it worse. You'll end up creating some pain, go to some drug or something, whatever, you know what I mean? But Krishna consciousness actually gives you the ability, or gives you the method by which you can cultivate, and you can be enjoying it every moment. I mean, this constant chanting we hear about the great devotees are already doing. And just match that with so many verses about the taste that they experienced. Tunde Tandavanita thing, that Rupa Goswami said, I don't know how much nectar these two syllables Krishna produced. But anyone can taste that nectar. Even when we're tasting it, otherwise we wouldn't continue. I mean, not the whole, as that, but enough of it that it's giving us, drawing us on Krishna's mercy. So this is intellectually, this should impel us or inspire us to become more serious and more austere, so that we can taste that happiness. Yeah. I mean, it's interesting. You gave the 6 benefits of Krishna consciousness, or special things at the beginning of right at the beginning of Nectar Devotion. You gave all those, and one of the ones was that it immediately that immediately gives one a liberation from material life or something like that. And then another one is it derives the concept of liberation. In other words, when you begin Krishna consciousness, many devotees and people come, because they're in distress. As you were painting a picture of a present time, people are so much distress, even more than usual. And if you really take up the process, chant seriously, associated with come to the temple, there's a relief. It may not be complete relief, but you feel some moments of transcendence of you can feel that. And that is often a very important impetus for pursuing Krishna consciousness. Prabhupada stresses so much. How many times did he talk about, you're in the human form of life, and the purpose is to, get free from the 4 miseries. When Krishna says, Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadi. So that's an impetus for liberation. But that's not ultimately the final goal, and it won't keep you. If it's just liberation, and so now I'm free from of distress, where can I enjoy? But if you stay on the path because yes, I'm serious about Vaikuntha, lack of all anxiety. But then as you experience more, then you get, that's not an impetus anymore. That's not even, it's just a byproduct. But at that stage, you were beginning to enjoy Krishna consciousness at every moment. And so it's possible for the mind to reach that state, but it has to give up the idea of immediate sense gratification. Yeah, sometimes devotees come and before they come, they kind of weren't too together, but then they come and they get, they kind of get their life together. Oh, now I'm doing pretty good. Now go out and enjoy. So no, we want to just give our life to Krishna. Otherwise, they go out and they get all screwed up again. So, yes, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu. Wonderful as always. In the purport, Prabhupada said he'd taken good instruction from his intelligence, which is called the mother. Have you ever seen the intelligence referred to the mother in any other purport?
Well, here in this whole Leela, we're hearing how the intelligence is the queen.
Yeah.
Right? Now it's the mother. Yeah, I remember. I don't remember hearing that. This is the first time that I've heard of the intelligence. Well, the mother is always thinking of the benefit. Always, But that's the source of knowledge. Probably the Veda Mata. Yeah. So that's the mother Vedas. Right. And that Prabhupada gives the example. If you want to find out who your father is,
have to go to your mother.
You ask your mother, you go to your mother.
Yeah.
So the Vedas are, like the mother,
Yeah.
telling us who our father is, Krishna. So, intelligence is and the Vedas, Yeah. Anything else? Okay, thank you very much. Hare Krishna.